This movie really is part of the Marvel mutant legacy. Just when you thought it was dead and gone, it comes back. So New Mutants is a movie directed by Josh Boone, and it was supposed to be the latest movie in the X-Men in the Fox installment of the X-Men movies, but then Disney bought Fox, and then they merged, and then the movie ended up being put in limbo. We saw the first trailer released almost pretty much 2 years ago in 2017, and we thought the movie was dead. We thought it was gonna go nowhere. We thought Disney wasn't gonna release the movie because now that Disney owns Fox and the entire Marvel universe is now under one umbrella, Disney and Marvel Studios are going to reboot the X-Men franchise. And so because of that, we thought this movie was just not going to come out because it wouldn't make sense for this movie to come out because again, Disney is going to reboot the X-Men franchise and this movie is going to be irrelevant. Well, lo and behold, fast forward 2 years later, another trailer has come out and the movie's actually coming out on April 3rd. A shock to everyone. And yeah, this trailer was no different from the first trailer in the sense that I was interested in the trailer based on what I saw, just this idea of the superhero genre delving into the horror territory, which is something that Doctor Strange 2 is going into, which is my number one anticipated MCU movie of Phase 4. And this idea that when you think of people being born with powers, you think of, oh, cool, I would love to have powers or telekinesis or control the weather. But you also don't think about the potential ramifications of having these powers that at first you can't control. Maybe you do have the power of telekinesis, and while it might be great in the beginning, while you're perhaps in your sleep, you might accidentally force choke your mother and now she's dead, and how do you deal with that? Or if you have the power of like the Human Torch, you could turn yourself into fire and control fire. You accidentally set your house on fire with your entire family in it, but because you're immune to fire, you survive, but nobody else does. And considering most mutants get their powers when they first hit puberty, when they're teenagers, when they're basically 13 years old, that would be a terrible situation for a kid, even an adult, to basically solely be responsible for the deaths of your family or even complete strangers. And so taking that coolness factor out of the idea of having powers is a very interesting concept. And this trailer, as well as the first trailer, has leaned into a lot of the horror tropes, into the darkness, into the idea of seemingly jump scares. And this movie is an adaptation of the Demon Bear storyline of the New Mutants X-Men books written by Chris Claremont in the 80s. And I didn't read the story myself, so I don't really know what this storyline is about. I do plan on reading it. Pull it up on my Marvel Unlimited app and read it before the movie comes out. The only thing I do know about that storyline is it was a horror story within the X-Men universe. And I think one of the first of its kind, actually. But considering all the shuffling around that's been going on with this movie, like, I'm a little nervous going into the movie. Like, this movie could be Dark Phoenix, which was not that good, or it could be X-Men 2, which was great. I don't know. And in a normal circumstance, I would be very intrigued and kind of excited to see this movie based on the first two trailers, because I like those first two trailers, and knowing that this movie's coming, I'll be interested. Now, granted, I still think this movie needs to just drop on Disney Plus and not come out in the theaters, because again, as I mentioned before, Disney's rebooting the entire X-Men franchise. So even if this movie is great, we're not going to get another movie. We're not going to get these set of characters again, or at least these actors again in another movie. So in many ways, this movie is irrelevant and it's not going to mean anything. But with that said, the reason I am not excited about this movie, the reason I'm not intrigued about this movie, and the reason this movie kind of pisses me off and upsets me more so on the Hollywood scale in general, and this is something that I ranted about on Facebook and on the podcast that I'm a part of, Blerd Vision, when they first announced the casting for this movie in the characters of specifically Roberto da Costa, played by Henry Zaga, and Cecilia Reyes, played by Alice Braga. And yes, I'm gonna go on a mini rant. This is actually the real reason I wanted to talk about this trailer and this movie in general. So, okay, the picture you see here is Henry Zaga. This is the actor that has been cast to play Roberto da Costa, aka Sunspot. The drawing that you see is his first appearance in the New Mutants comic books in the 80s. One of these things is not like the other. You can clearly see that Roberto da Costa is an Afro-Brazilian. He is a dark-skinned black Brazilian, and Henry Zaga isn't. If you saw him walking the street, just in general, you would just think he's a regular white man. And I heard a lot of people say, well, what's the big criticism? Like, why are you making it such a big deal? At least Henry Zaga is actually Brazilian in real life, just like Roberto da Costa, so you should give it props for that. Okay, fine, sure, great. Kudos to you for actually casting a Brazilian. But at the same time, people act like they don't know that there's a difference between nationality, ethnicity, and race. For example, Laz Alonso and Gina Torres are both Cuban. They're called Afro-Cubans. Just like I am an American with African ancestry, hence they call me an African American. But you know who else are Cubans? Gloria Estefan and Desi Arnaz. They're both Cuban. See the difference? That's like saying if you're doing a movie about Bill Clinton and you cast Martin Sensmeyer to play Bill Clinton. God, that man is fine. He can play whoever he wants in my book, and I'm gonna go see it. And then if there's any backlash about him playing Bill Clinton, that would be like me saying, what are you guys complaining for? They're both American, right? And as a matter of fact, Sensmeyer is more American than Bill Clinton because he's a Native American. He was here first. No, it's not the same thing. Just because they're both Americans doesn't mean they share the same ethnicity and race. Now granted, Bill Clinton is based on a real person and Roberto da Costa isn't a real person, but at the same time, being a white man is pretty essential to Bill Clinton's storyline. He wouldn't have really probably have been president if he wasn't a white man. The same goes for Roberto da Costa. Being Afro-Brazilian, having brown skin just like mine, actually even darker than mine, is very important to his storyline. The first time he was introduced in the comics, he was bullied, not because he was a mutant, but because he was black. They even say it in the comic strip, something along the lines of, no matter how much money your father had, you're still a monkey, you're still black. And that was part of his story. That was how he was introduced. And the same goes for Cecilia Reyes. She's Puerto Rican. She's Afro-Puerto Rican. And so to have Alice Braga play her is just like, what the hell? And this has been a problem that's been going on, especially in the comics in general. And that's why I think I go more on a rant about Sunspot than Cecilia Reyes, because for the most part, at least in the comic books, Cecilia Reyes has been pretty consistent in how she looks. That's why it baffles me even more in her case why they decided to cast Alice Braga for her, because she looks nothing like the comic book character. But in the comics, there's always been this complete whitewashing of the Sunspot character, and I don't understand why. Like, somebody put a panel of all the different looks that Sunspot has had throughout the years, and I'm just like, I don't understand why colorists and artists can't seem to get him right. Like, he started off as an Afro-Latino, and then as you look, and for whatever reason, and actually I kind of feel like it's coincided with his popularity, it seems like as he's gotten more and more popular, he's lost more and more of his African features, and it's just gotten lighter and lighter. But also, really, can we talk about this Rob Liefeld art right here? Like, what the fuck is this? And then I heard another stupid argument where people were like, well, now you know how it feels when you say take Ariel from The Little Mermaid and cast Halle Bailey as The Little Mermaid, cast her as Ariel, as opposed to finding a white girl with red hair. And it's like, no, it's not the same thing, because A, white people have pretty much had the monopoly on roles and leading characters in movies, video games, comic books, novels, you name the entertainment form, white people are everywhere, and lead characters, side characters, even Jesus, who's written in the books as a man with brown skin and hair like wool, has been taken over by this blonde-haired, blue-eyed man. So it's like, it's not the same thing. You can't call something a double standard when they're not equal. There aren't that many characters of color, especially leading characters of color in genre movies, films, video games, cartoons. So it holds way less weight taking a fictional white character and maybe changing their sexuality or changing their race, than it does taking a character of color and changing them to a white character, or taking a character of color and lightening their skin. Because colorism is a huge problem in Hollywood. And Henry Zaga and Alice Braga, I don't have any qualms against the actors in this role. I'm more upset and ranting about the casting decision to put them in the role as opposed to somebody with darker skin. Again, Sunspot's first story in the comics was him being discriminated against for being black, for being an Afro-Brazilian. I can rant about this for hours, and in fact, I have ranted about it several times on my Facebook page, and I'm going to rant about it even more than likely when I talk about it with my podcast partner when we record our latest episode, which links for that will be in the description box below. But yeah, based on that, and especially because, like I said, I've known about this for a long time. I've known about this since they first announced the casting, but now that this movie is actually coming out, it's kind of revitalizing that argument. And I'm not the only one that feels this way, because I've seen articles popping up about the whitewashing of Cecilia Reyes and Roberto da Costa on comic book resources and other websites. So yeah, I'm definitely not the only one, because I saw somebody else say online that, oh, I'm being petty about this. And it's like, no, I'm not. I'm glad you feel that way, but clearly this is an issue that affects many people. Hashtag representation matters. But anyway, have you guys seen the trailer for New Mutants? Let me know down in the comment section below, but be respectful. Also, if you can, hit that thumbs up button and like this video to really help out the channel. If this is your first time watching one of my videos, please check out the other videos on my channel. And if you like what you see, please subscribe for more and hit that bell notification button so you're alerted every single time I post a new video. And tell your friends, families, and neighbors about my channel to help me continue to grow. And as always, I'll catch you guys next time.